Okay, so I've never made a vlog before, so I am gonna try my hand at it for Dead Until Dark. This is the first book in the Sookie Stackhouse series, and this is one of many covers. I have tabbed each chapter. That's what this is, and I ran out of red ones, so I had to use some yellow ones. And that is where I'm at. I'm only like 6 pages in. Five pages in, and I thought it might be fun if I tried to vlog this. It might be fun to go along with our sprints and our discussion. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do the timing of this, or if this will ever see the light of day, because I'm looking kind of crusty. If you haven't noticed, or maybe you think this is how I normally look, I don't know which one of us is right. Since this is a reread, and this is like one of those books that really stoked my love for reading and kept me going when there wasn't really much else that I knew about, or that was around, or whatever. This is one of those books that came at a kind of a pivotal point in my life. So me rereading it and having people comment about it, who are joining in on the read along and like reading it fresh in 2022. You know, I thought it'd be fun to document because people have feelings, and just 5 pages in, I am remembering why I liked it. And a lot of people are like, girl, are you sure? So this was published originally in 2001. This cover came out as a TV show tie-in in 2008. And in 2001, I was a junior going into my senior year in high school. And I don't think I read it right then. I think I read it as a freshman in college. And then I kept up with them as they were released and then watched the show. So, like I said, this was a pivotal point in my reading life, in my reading experience, in my canon, as Taylor from Made Between the Pages would say. So, like, let's go back and reread it and document it. Okay, so we're gonna check in maybe after every chapter, and there's 13 chapters, and I think I can make that do what it do. So we'll talk to you soon. Editing Deidra here already. I can't find the footage for where I talked about chapter 1. So, and I don't think at this point, because this is after we've had our live discussion, me and Bree, and I've finished all the other clips. I'm literally editing the video, and I went to put it, and I can't find it. So at this point, I don't think it will make a whole lot of sense to try to refilm it. So we're gonna go straight into my feelings about chapter 2 and 3. And sorry about starting the vlog off like this, but I'm gonna insert the one clip I did find where I talk about my indoor plants and kind of what, like, sort of the theme of this whole vlog. And so that's what's coming up next, and then we'll go into chapter 3. This is my monstera. I'll zoom in. I'm about to lose a leaf. That'll be the only one I've lost from this one, though. Is that true? Am I lying by accident? I don't know. But that yellow one, she's gonna go. I can't remember if I already said this earlier, but our heat has been out, and it's been really cold in my city, and it's been cold in this house, and they have just not been doing great. Even though you can see I'm getting two new leaves on here, but it's just really cold in here, and they don't really like being cold. And then that's my fig leaf, child. She has been through a whole lot, and I feel kind of bad for her having to be with me, but she's hanging on. I had a new leaf coming up. Or actually, that already popped up, but it would, like I said, it's been so cold in here. It came up, it was already like way too yellow. It didn't look good when it sprouted, so I lost it the other day, and that is probably the third leaf I've lost off of her. But I mean, she's not doing terrible. I need to get her off the floor so she can grab some more sunlight. It's kind of, the bottom of it's kind of in a shadow place, and you can tell she is droopy. But this room gets good light. I just need to get her off the floor so more of the plant can get the sunlight. This room is kind of small, so I'm limited on how I can arrange the furniture in here. And when my stepsons come, they will take over this room, and I kind of have to have them out of the way. But anyways, those are my plants. So hey y'all, so it's been a couple days since I last checked in with y'all. I am on chapter 3. I'm finished chapter 3 now, so this is a check-in for chapter 2 and 3. So far Suki has been attacked twice, and she has been saved on both occasions by Vampire Bill. We've met Sam. We've met her brother Jason, which I'm not sure, I can't remember if we met Jason in the first chapter, but we've definitely met him between the second and third chapter. I discover on my reread and remembering what I remember from the show, she has a different relationship with Arlene than I remember. Full disclosure now, after I've gotten into the rhythm of the story now, after 3 chapters, I'm on page, excuse me, I'm on page 96. So I've gotten into the rhythm of Harris's writing, and I've now, you know, sort of remembering what I don't remember correctly anymore. So there's a lot of things that I don't remember correctly, and a lot of things that happen, but I thought they happened already or would have happened now in the book, or are going to happen in this first book, and they're not. They're gonna happen later, and I don't even remember where they happened in the show either. So I am really feeling like I'm reading this again for the first time, really, because I don't remember any of this. The people who have been murdered this far in the book, I don't remember them or this happening. I thought other things would have happened by now, so it's exciting to reread it. What do I think of Suki? Suki is annoying. Like, Suki is a tiny bit full of herself. She thinks very, very highly of herself. She thinks that I don't want to say that she thinks she's better than the other people, but she does think that she knows her worth, I guess you can say. Funny to be reading from her perspective now as where I am in life and what I remember about feeling about her the first time I read this. So let's say 2003, 2004 is when I first read the first book, and then I caught up to whatever the publishing date for the next one. So the second one is, I think, Living Club Dead. Let's see, I forget now. Living Dead in Dallas is the second one. So this one was published in 2002. So yeah, let's say I had like 3 I had to get through. I could see myself doing that in like a weekend, especially if I bought these used. My cat is unhappy that I'm in the other room. So I burned through them once they started being, once I caught up to the publishing date. And I remember reading them as they came out and being at like, I want to say this was like Walden Books or Books A Million would have been the bookstores that I went to, or whatever local bookstores I was visiting at the time. I don't think I checked these out from the library. And I would have been out of high school and in college around that time, so definitely was a used bookstore type of situation. But anyway, so yeah, so like that would have put me around 20 years old, and that's like fully 18 years later. Like I'm going to assume that that timeline is correct within a few years. I'm now 38. It's been a whole little minute, you know what I'm saying? So it really feels like I'm reading this for the first time, and just like hearing there's just things that are vaguely familiar. Like, I don't remember anything specific. Anyway, so we're on to chapter 4. There's somebody and one of Suki's co-workers who have been discovered dead after not coming to work for a day or two. And so Suki was the one to discover this person, and now Suki's back at work. So that's where we're at in the story. I will check in after I get through the next chunk, or the next day or so. Okay, so I am on chapter 4, or I finished chapter 4, and I was going to go ahead and read chapter 5, but decided that it was kind of thick, or I saw that it was kind of thick and decided I should go ahead and check in now. So Suki and Bill have gone to the vampire bar called Fantasia, and Suki thinks it's a date. She's not sure. Bill thinks it's a date, but they're out. And she has decided that a white dress with like little fruit on it was appropriate attire for a vampire bar. And so Bill says she looks like a white candle in a coal mine. So I thought that was fun. Anyway, so they're at the bar, and Suki's like having experiences and like kind of clutching her pearls, and she reads somebody's mind in there. Read something, I don't want to give all the spoilers away, but like she reads something in somebody's mind and decides it's time to go. She's like, Bill, blah 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 blah, it's time to go. So Bill, we also met Eric and Pam, I forgot to mention that. But Bill was like, okay, let's go. He does some kind of signal to Eric, and Eric is out, and they're out. They're gone before the thing happens. And that's where I left off. So Eric is everything that I remember, and he is a mess, and I'm happy we finally met him in this book. Hey y'all, I'm Deidra, and I just saw it be fly by. So I have made it to the end of chapter 5. I am very sorry if you can hear that dog in the background. I'm outside on my back porch. The sun is like that way, and that's where the dog is, like 3 yards down. Just let us be glad we don't have the next yard's dog out here, but hopefully this microphone is just picking up my voice, and the dog is kind of annoyingly far off in the back. Anyway, so I made it to the end of chapter 5, which I was saying on the live that it's like almost 50% of this paperback, and I'm only on chapter 6. Like, that's gonna be a bit of a thing. So I might, it looks like chapter 6 and 7. Okay, so I'm re-recording this little part because the wind, I try to keep enough of the previously recorded clip in here so you can kind of understand why I'm doing this, but that mic started getting tagged by the wind, so we're here. And that dog was annoying, but he might not be any better. This is 8-Ball, if we've never met. Anyway, so chapter 5. The beginning of chapter 5 starts out with, we've discovered one of Suki's co-workers. We've discovered their body, and the investigation into their death has sort of started. And the sheriff, which is Andy Belfleur, has come to the bar to, best I can tell, he came to be nosy, and he came to mess with Suki. Like, I don't really know what else is going on. There's not a whole lot going on in the town besides this murder. Anyway, so he's in there like messing with her because he does believe that she is telepathic. And so he's in there like saying, or not saying, he's thinking jacked up things, trying to get a rise out of her. And after like the 6th or 7th time that she refills his drink or whatever, he finally does get the reaction that he was trying to get from her, and she gets mad and storms out it's into her shift anyway, and she's just like been trying to keep her guard up all day. Anyway, she's mad. She's in Sam's office, trying to calm down and trying to get her stuff together so she can go home. And after that happens, Sam sort of springs a date on her. Like, he's like, well, do you want to go hear Vampire Bill speak at the Daughters of the Confederate or whatever the fuck girls group is called? And so she was like, yeah, I wasn't really planning on going, but because she was giving Bill an ultimatum, like, I have been pursuing you this whole time. Like, if you want to see me some more or again or in a romantic fashion, the ball's in your court. Holla at me, homie. Like, and so that's where she's at with Bill. So when Sam asked her to go to this meeting, she's like, okay, fine, because I'm not finna sit around and wait on Vampire Bill. She is a little bit like, damn, why you ask me now that I've got somebody else pursuing me and I've been working here for however long, I think like 3 years, and you ain't said nothing to me until somebody else showed interest. But whatever, she's having a quick thought, like. So they go to the thing, they hear Bill speak about the Civil War and whatever else and about town. So a couple of the people at the meeting ask him some questions about their family and stuff, and we're moving on. They go out to have some coffee, and they go, things get awkward while they're talking, and Sam drops her off. But immediately when Sookie walks up to the door, she knows something ain't right in the house, and she goes looking, searching, trying to figure out what has her spidey sense tingling, and she finds her grandmother dead in the kitchen. And even though I just read this maybe like 2 hours ago, maybe a little longer now, but I'm forgetting what made Bill come back to the house, come back to Sookie and her grandmother's house. But anyways, all of a sudden Bill's there, and he's like, you know, your grandmother gave me a ride, and I helped her unload some stuff, and then I went home to change, and now she's here. Like, I don't know how much time has passed since that happened. I think it maybe is discussed. And then so she's like, one of them says, we gotta call the police. And then she's like, damn, I gotta tell my brother. So in the process of finding Jason, or trying to find Jason, she does a bunch of calling around, and it turns out that Jason's at the bar. And since Sam had a date, Terry is bartending, and he has but Terry ends up telling to get in touch with Jason. You know, he's at the bar drinking or whatever, because it's after the funeral. No, it's after the meeting that he was at for the vampire. Terry somehow, I think Terry just go ahead and tell Sam that, you know, because Sookie's like, can you tell Sam that I'm gonna be unavailable for a couple days? I ain't gonna be able to come to work, so just take me off the schedule. And so when Sam finds out, I'm sure that, you know, Sam's like, oh shit, let me go check on her. I just dropped her off. Like, what the I'm probably kicking himself for not walking her into the door, into the house or whatever. But things were kind of awkward. So that wasn't really what Sookie was trying to get from him anyway. So he ends up back at the house. So now we have the police, we have Bill, we have Sam, we have Sookie, and we have a dead body. And then Jason pulls up, and Jason's, you know, in shock, and just like, he and Sookie commiserate for a few minutes, and then Jason says something really mean, or something that he knew would hurt Sookie. It's not necessarily mean, because it's true, not that those two things can't exist in the same statement, but he said something that hurts Sookie, and I think he knew that it would hurt Sookie when he said it. And so they start to, like, about to have a fight, and or I think the supernatural hearing of Vampire Bill, and something off about Sam, they overheard what Jason said, so they're like trying to separate the two. And Jason and Sam walk one way, and Bill and Sookie walk the other way. They have a conversation. Bill's trying to console Sookie, and just like, you know, that's your brother, he's just hurting, he didn't really mean to hurt you, whatever. So at some point after that, the sheriff pokes his head out the door out onto the front porch, and he's hollering for Bill to come because he wants to talk to him, because I don't know, because that's probably because Bill lives really close to the Stackhouse home. They're like across the field from each other, a cemetery apart, I think. Anyway, so they're slowly making their way back towards the house, and Suki's just trying to like process everything that's going on. And you know, she's just had an argument with her brother, her grandma's dead, she just had kind of a lackluster date, and Vampire Bill is here, and she is just in a daze and doesn't realize that Jason's heading towards her, and Jason hauls off and slaps Suki. That's what this tab right here is. Like, I don't think me and Jason are gonna recover from this. I totally forgot that happened. It'll be a few books before I have anything nice to say about Jason, if ever again. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't think he redeems himself, but I don't remember. I mean, how do you redeem yourself from that? And what was the reason? What did that help? What did that solve? Like, I could see hauling off and hitting Bill, but why did you hit your sister? I didn't understand that. So that's where we are after with Jason. But then a little bit later in the chapter we have Grant's funeral, and what else happened? Oh, forgot about that. So at the very end of the chapter, when they're having the repast or whatever, one of the mourners comes in and sort of like asks a question out loud. They say the silent part out loud, and it's like, where's your grandma's brother? And then they tried, Jason and Suki have had a temporary truce in the moment, and they're both kind of like united front, like, we don't talk about that. And this person just doesn't seem to understand that, you know, we don't talk about that. And so she continues to press the issue, and finally the look on their face and their refusal to continue to engage in that conversation lets, I think it's Maxine Fortenberry, which I have memories of her, but I don't remember. I don't know how accurate they are. Anyway, so Maxine Fortenberry just like, finally catches the hint and moves on. And she's trying to find, the question she asks is, where is Grant's brother? Where is he at? Why wasn't he at the funeral? Come to find out, they hadn't thought about telling him, because they don't talk to him. They don't talk about him, so they didn't tell him that she was dead. So he didn't have a chance of showing up at the funeral. But, you know, leave it to old Maxine to bring that up. So yes, this is a re-recorded clip of my thoughts on chapter 5. I'm moving on to chapter 6, which looks like another thick one, so I'll probably check in after that one. And then from there on, it looks like the chapter 7 also looks thick, so we'll see how I check in. I don't even want to put anything on it. But back to the rest of what I was doing outside and the reason why I had to reshoot this clip. Okay, so I don't know if I've already made this clear, but I am going to be making a container garden. What's that just, I think it was this mic thing. So I will say, while I'm trying to get my mic situated, I have already seen bees and butterflies back here in this yard. Like right now, what made me think to say that is I just saw a butterfly land on some dandelions that have come up in the backyard since it's been warm today and yesterday. Like, some of these weren't there yesterday because I pulled some of these up. Anyways, so I'm not too super worried about pollinators, but I am still going to plant some flowers. But my garden is going to be 100% container gardens, just because I rent this place and I don't want to tear up this yard. So we're just going to use containers. I've had the most experience and success with containers, so we're fine. But the thing that's different is maybe that a lot of people don't know about grow bags, which is what I'm going to be using. And I'll just show you real quick a couple of the ones that I already have. I still have to order a couple more. Anyway, so this is a 20-gallon grow bag. I will put them all on the ground here just for perspective. But this is a 20-gallon one. And so you plant it like you would a hard pot. It just drains through it. It keeps the advantage is supposed to be that the root's real airplane. So this one I am going to be growing potatoes in. I've actually harvested potatoes from this actual bag before, so I know it will work. I just wasn't here in this state when I did it, so we'll see. And then I could also grow any kind of roots would be good for this bag, but I'm gonna grow potatoes for sure. I have some carrot seeds on the way, but I'm gonna use both of these bags for potatoes. And you can just like kind of check on the progress if you want to. Some bags like this have mesh here under this that you can also remove, so you can just check on it without the dirt spilling out, but you really wouldn't open this until it's time to harvest, because it's gonna be like packed full. Not necessarily full, but it'll be packed and things will just spill out if you open this. So that is why I'm growing potatoes in here. Carrots I can just pull up from the top, but I want to give a lot of room. Since I'm not digging, I want to give it a lot of room. So there's that. That is a 10-gallon bag. This one is a 5-gallon bag, and I'm going to try to repurchase this very same brand. I actually have them in my cart already, so I know they still exist. But this is 5 gallons, and I will show you what I intend to put in here on my little schematic. But this is mainly going to be tomatoes and beans. I've grown I've grown tomatoes out of 7-gallon. No, I've grown tomatoes out of these before too. It's been a long time, even longer than the potatoes. Yeah, I have 2 of these out of a 5-pack. These come in like a 5-pack. You can buy individual bags, but it's not really very economical to do that. I've only used 2 of these. That's how much space I had. And I was also worried that I would ruin the concrete, the place that I was. So I only used 2 of these at the time. The rest of them still have the tags on them. Okay, that's it for the containers. Let me show you the space. Okay, so when you see my schematic, that's the water. It's kind of scary, all those wires, but I've already talked to the landlord. That's fine. It doesn't hit anything live. So that's the water. There's one door and then the other door, and I might do a clean with me and clean that grill. But anyway, so I'm going to put the potatoes there on that side. And since the potato pot is kind of like, it'll bounce water off the sides or pee off the sides if that were to happen. Anyways, and that is where that chair is where the corn will be. And then this fence is where the tomatoes will be, and that dark corner is the gate. I feel like since it's winter right now, I don't have an accurate way of knowing how much sun this little alley will get, but I feel like I might be able to grow something there. And then along that fence, not along the fence, kind of, I haven't figured out the spacing yet, but the squash will be back there, and you'll see an X for that utility stuff that I don't want to get close to when it's time. And here are those, sorry about the cords, here are those pots again next to a chair. I'm really just trying to show y'all scale. This is hard to keep open when it's not full, but that's not a problem when you start putting stuff in there, just for the record. Hey y'all, I'm checking in again. So I've made it through chapter 6, and I was gonna plow through through chapter 7 and then update you, but there's like 30 pages in chapter 7, and a lot happened in chapter 6. I think I have put 2 tabs in this chapter, and I just need to talk about it before I move on. So I'm gonna put some lotion on my hands while we talk about this. So at this point in the book, we are 3 days out from Gran's funeral, and Suki has decided that it's time to clean house, and she has enlisted the help, or either enlisted the help of, or just being a friend. Arlene stopped by, and when she stopped by, Suki decided that was the time. So her and Arlene cleaned out the house, got rid of, as best I can tell, got rid of all of Brand's clothing, all of her little whatever, her belongings, anything that Suki didn't want, she got rid of that day, that night. And decided also that it was time to move into that bedroom. Her rationale being that it would be easier to be in there than to be in her bedroom constantly thinking about that room being empty. You know, whatever, people deal with grief in lots of different ways, so I'm not judging Suki for that. And then she goes back to work. I don't remember how long passes between the day that they clean out the house and when she goes back to work. But anyway, so we're there, and once at work, Suki's having an okay time. Oh, how could I dare forget this part? So at some point after they clean out the house and before Suki goes back to work, Bill pops over and pops over. And then after that pops off, Suki goes back to work, and she has a certain pep in her step after that. And so not people necessarily, Arlene at least, her friend, picks up on Suki's heightened mood, I guess is the best way to put this. She sort of says it out loud, or maybe she says it, no, again, Sam is just, Jason's on my list, now Sam is on my list. The other tab, one tab from this chapter that I have, is the point where Sam basically outs Suki as a fang banger. So what tips Arlene off to Suki's different mood is the fact that Suki is dressed a little bit differently. She has a collared shirt on that day instead of her usual just round neck crew neck t-shirt that she usually wears. And so when she's like, you're out having fun, and fun is the same sense of what I used popped off earlier, and she's like, yeah, she's like, with who are you dating, who is the guy? And Suki's like, Bill. And Arlene's like racking her brain trying to think of any guys in the town named Bill that she might be referring to. And when they're playing this game, basically back and forth and hitting at it, Sam walks up and says, Vampire Bill Compton. And in this same moment, Sam like pulls down Suki's collar of her shirt and shows off bite marks, vampire bite marks. And for me, I think that was another incident where Sam overstepped his boundaries. Like, don't touch me, don't be a sore loser. Like, bruh, I'm out here living my life, I'm fine, leave me alone. And also, don't touch me, stop invading my space. This is how I feel about Sam at this point in the game. That's what this second tab is. The third tab is when we get a little bit further, the language that I'm putting this on Charlene Harris because she wrote this book. I'm not putting this on Suki. On page 151, they're at this point in the story, like after after the revelation that Suki is fucking Bill, Vampire Bill has come out, and they've gone on with the night a little bit more. Bill comes and visits Suki because they're all sweet and love is fresh or whatever. And at some point after that, the other two vampires that we met in the previous chapter, not chapter 5 but I think chapter 4, we have Diane and Malcolm. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't realize Diane was a black vampire. I just forgot or something. But I didn't like the way that, not that I didn't like it, I just thought it was an interesting choice of words. Here Suki's talking about like the mood in the bar, trying to set the scene of what's going on here. There's now 3 vampires in the bar, and they've already had the incident earlier in the night with them like judging her for dating a vampire. And blacks didn't come into my life much, but if any black were absolutely safe there, it was Diane. And I'm just like, if we didn't know it was like a redneck town before this, now it's been explicitly said at this point. And I tabbed that just because, and I don't know that this would have pinged in my mind when I originally read this, but it definitely is pinging now. So I just wanted to point that out. Sookie is really moving fast with everything, and I don't know if it's just because she's been waiting 23 or 26 years. I forget exactly how old she is. I think 23. Maybe it's just the fact that she's been waiting this long to find somebody she feels comfortable with in even trying some of these things, and now that she's found it in Bill Compton, then she's like wanting to hit the road running. I don't know, it just seems like she does everything faster than I think. She does everything faster. Let me just leave it at that. I don't really know how to complete that sentence anymore. She just does everything faster, and she's sort of annoying about it, in my opinion. She's sort of like, I do this and I do that and I, and I don't know. I'm just annoyed with Sookie. We're moving on. Checking in on chapter 7. A whole lot happens in chapter 7. And let me start this little clip by saying I am very sorry if anybody was harmed by the things that were revealed in this chapter, because I 100% did not remember that. And as a survivor of sexual violence, I just don't want anybody to be triggered by anything like that. And I am sorry for not giving you a warning. I did not remember that that is something that happens. Certainly not in the first book. I didn't even remember anything about the brother. I'm very sorry about that. If anybody was harmed, I did not mean to leave that out. I just did not remember that that happened. Speaking of that, that was the big reveal about Sookie's grand's brother. So he sexually assaulted her when she was very young, and also grand's daughter, so her aunt, her father's sister, and that's why they don't talk about him or to him. I did not like Jason's reaction to that revelation, or I didn't like what Jason was saying in that conversation. Like when it was like, when Sookie asked if he had also been touched by their uncle, and he was like, God, no, or whatever. Like, of course not. And it was just like, just a complete lack of empathy or sympathy, and I just really hated that reaction from Jason. Like, Jason's behavior for this whole chapter is really disgusting to me, or was really disgusting to me, is really disgusting to me. I didn't appreciate it at all. Then we have his reaction, the way he treated Sookie, and just the way that whole conversation went between Jason and Sookie when it was discovered that the uncle was dead. I just didn't like, are you Sookie's brother or nah? Like, what is going on with you, Jason? I don't understand your reactions. I don't understand your behavior, and it's not cute, and you need to grow up. The other thing in this chapter is the L-bomb is dropped. I think it is, again, back to what I said when I checked in for chapter 6, like, Sookie's just moving fast. And I think this, you know, I of all people understand what it's like to know, to know when you know, and to kind of move faster than most people in a relationship. But like the way nothing is happening, like they went to a movie, they've gone on one date, they've had sex a few times at this point, and it's like, I mean, okay, yeah, Bill has killed first Sookie a few times now. We're almost gonna have to move to a second hand here pretty soon on how much vengeance Bill has taken out in Sookie's name. But like, It's really soon for the L bomb, but we're here. We're here, and that's really my takeaway. Like, oh, also there's another big thing that has happened in chapter 7. The vampires, somebody has been burned. Some vampires have been burned. Their house has been burned. We think it's more than likely Diane, Liam, and Malcolm, but it may be Bill's friend that's in town, Harlan, and a human girl, but it's hard to confirm identity of vampires because their remains just sort of disintegrate once they die. So we think it's them. They think they knew where the house was, so we are being led to believe that those 3 vampires have perished in a fire set by like an angry mob that started to develop in Merlot's. So that's where we're at. I probably won't check in for a little while longer. I gotta start dinner, and the next couple chapters look to be pretty short. I'll check in soon though. Hi y'all, I'm checking in on chapters 8 through 11. I thought I would do this before the last chapter and let the last chapter be its own thing, along with a conclusion and concluding feelings or whatever, and just kind of like a nice ending for this vlog. But so chapter 8, the main things that happen in chapter 8 are that Arlene asked Sookie to babysit. She kind of retracts that. She retracts that ask when she finds out that Sookie is going to have Bill over that night when her kids are going to be there, because she doesn't feel comfortable. Arlene doesn't feel comfortable with her kids being around a vampire, and she's like, you just don't understand because you don't have kids. And then Jason is the top suspect for all the murders that have been happening in Bon Temps. So it is just being like, the trouble around him is just mounting and mounting. He doesn't really have a good alibi. He knows both women. He's got sex tapes with both of them, and you know, Jason is just out here. He's for the streets, and so the streets is about to take him. Then in chapter 9, or between chapter 8 and chapter 9, or like at the end of chapter 8, Sookie is summoned to Fantasia by Eric via Bill in order to do something for Eric, because Eric is the top vampire that they need to be worried about, but in the region, like whatever, he's the top guy, and so they can't, it's not something they can just say, no, we're not gonna be able to do it. That's not something that happens when Eric asks somebody to do something. So they're on the way, they're making plans to go. And so between chapters, the first chapter and now, at this point, Sookie has had 2 doses of vampire blood. Both of these times they have been from Bill. And what happens, I don't know if I said this explicitly, it's definitely said in the book, but I don't know if I said it during the course of this vlog, but in this world, vampire blood is sort of like a hallucinogen. It is a drug, but it is illegal to just like drain a vampire and like take it from them. The only way you would know this or can get it is if a vampire willingly gives it to you, or lets you drink from them. So, but now it's known now that vampire blood is a hallucinogen, and it has healing properties and stuff like that. Oh no, I'm gonna lose my spot. It has healing properties and stuff like that. It's like a black market thing now, of course. So people will like drain vampires. They will like chain them up with silver and just pump them, take their blood from them, basically. That is something that happens in this world, and like they sell them by the vials like you would like individual pills, I imagine. Anyway, so by now Sookie, like they take this knowledge and have Sookie drink from Bill in chapter 9, I think, before they go to Fantasia, so that Sookie and Bill have the best chance of being successful and walking out of there alive. They get to the bar. Eric wants to know, wants Sookie to read people's minds, try to figure out who stole from him. I forget how much money it is, but it's in the tens of thousands, I believe. I don't remember exactly how much it is. But vampires are rich, and it's like, why are you even worried about it? But Eric is trying to mainstream. He's not trying to just be ruthless and like the old vampire ways. He's trying to be on the up and up and like nip it in the butt though. So Sookie's in there. She's reading people's mind. Comes to find out it's Long Shadow. Long Shadow is the one that has been stealing from the bar. And as Sookie's about to like say this revelation out loud after she reads it out of one of the humans' minds, Long Shadow goes to attack Sookie, and he is staked by Eric. And in the process of that, some of Long Shadow's blood gets into Sookie's mouth. So now she's had vampire blood 3 times now. 3 times now. So it's like, damn, okay. So they survive that night. Long Shadow is staked. They find out who's stolen the money. All is well in Fantasia. Eric is cool or whatever. Bill and Sookie get to go home. And so as they go home, as Bill is taking them home, Bill drops her off, or I'm forgetting some events, hold up. That's right. So Bill drops Sookie off, and Sookie walks into the house, and no sooner than Bill drives off that Sookie realizes there's somebody outside, and something thumps up against the back window, the window of the back door. So Sookie runs and she calls Bill. She's like, Bill, somebody's around, somebody's in the yard. So Bill's over there within 2 minutes. He's using his vampire skills for good, and he's sniffing the property. He's, you know, checking the perimeter, trying to figure out what it is. And as he finishes his route, or whatever you want to call his investigation, I guess you could say, he comes up on the porch and sees what it was that was thrown at the window, and it is Sookie's cat, Tina, who has been killed, and whoever did it threw it at the back window. And so they have a little burial for Tina, R.I.P. It's just like Sookie is always in danger. Somebody's really after her. And in between chapter 10 and 11, the main events that happen is that Bill needs to go out of town, and so he has asked his friend Bubba to watch Sookie at night in her yard and her property and stuff while he's away. And also Arlene asked Sookie again to babysit the kids. This time she doesn't even ask if Bill's gonna be there. She just lets it happen because she knows that it upset Sookie the first time. So anyways, they get to the house. Like, Sookie gets home, Arlene and Renee drop the kids off. Bill's there with Bubba. Everybody meets each other, shake hand, woo woo, yacht yacht yacht. Bill leaves, and so Sookie wants to get in touch with Jason for a reason, and she calls the bar, talks to Terry. Terry says he's not there, hangs up. And then a couple minutes later, Sookie gets a call, and whoever it is says they're Terry and says that Jason's up there and he wants to buy you a drink. So Sookie goes up to the bar, even though she knows Bill's out of town, and Bubba, this scary looking guy from Memphis / vampire, not guy from Memphis / vampire, but this guy from Memphis, like, this is supposed to be, I think they're alluding to this being Elvis. Not I think, that's what's happening. They're alluding to Bubba being Elvis, but they just call him Bubba. Bubba's a little off. He may or may not have made a joke about liking cats in a way that led people to believe that he likes cats for snacks or animals for snacks. But anyways, we're here. So Bubba's in the yard in the dark. Sookie's scared to be alone, but she's scared to leave, and she's scared to not talk to her brother for whatever reason. So she runs back out, goes to the bar. She gets there. Terry's like out back, irritated. He's having a bad night. He says that he didn't call her again and say he was up there, and she doesn't really understand what's going on, but she sees this dog, and the stray dog is all friendly. She wants to take the dog home. She takes the dog home, feeds him, feels better because she has a little company, and goes to sleep. Next thing she knows, it's dawn, and she wakes up and there's a naked man in the bed that has his arm around her, and oh shit, it's Sam. Sam is the dog is Sam. Sam is a shapeshifter. And this is how Sam chose to tell Sookie. Like, Sam just, I don't know, like, he makes such bad choices too. Jason and Sam, like, I for real don't even understand the logic behind deciding this was the way to tell Sookie that you're a shapeshifter as Sam. And then anyway, so like, and also the other thing is, and I don't know if this is because I'm an only child or because I'm a Scorpio, but the way that Sookie has just forgiven Jason and just kind of slid back into that, like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Am I cold? Do I really not, like, am I missing that much about a sibling situation? Like, y'all let me know in the comments. But anyways, at some point after we find out Sam is a shifter and he's naked in the bed with Sookie, the sheriff pulls up, or not, maybe not the sheriff, the deputy pulls up, and it's Andy Barrelfloor, and he asks Sookie, you know, have you been home all night? Where's your boyfriend at? And are you sure that's where he was? And there's been another murder, and it's somebody else that Jason has known, and it's known that Jason knows them. They're ready to arrest him basically, and I think Sookie takes that from his head, and Andy is sad about it, but he's been up all night working this murder, so she lets him fall asleep in the bed in the guest room. And she goes to work, or goes to take Sam back up to the bar. I can't remember which one. She gets there, and before she walks in the bar or leaves the parking lot or whatever, they see Jason in this 18-wheeler cab, just well, unconscious, and he smells of booze. He's unconscious, so they call the ambulance, and Sam kind of like, are you sure you want to call the police and the ambulance? And Sookie, being kind of naive, is like, of course, I think my brother's innocent. He needs help. He's unconscious. The police will understand. I'm sure he has an alibi. So she calls the police and the ambulance, so they get him to the hospital, and he's being treated, and she leaves to go back to work. After the doctor promises to call her when he wakes up, and she takes from Andy Barrelfloor's mind that he's going to arrest him. They've handcuffed Jason to the bed so that when he wakes up, he'll be read his rights. And that's sort of where we leave off at the end of chapter 11. And I honestly don't know how this will end, and I'm excited to be done. Not be done like that, but like, I'm excited to finish this and come back with my final thoughts. But in between now, let me show you guys the seeds that came in the other day and the schematic that I've been talking about for like forever now. But so this is what I started off with. I just had basically wrote down a list of stuff that I would like to grow, and so basically I started with this, and then once I had a list, I went and got the seeds, and then I planted the garden. And actually the day that I started planting, I was on the phone with Bree, who has a channel called the Locked Plantician. And anyway, so I was showing her the bags I already had that day, and I was like, oh, I think I'll do a garden. And so she was suggesting that I do a Three Sisters garden, which is corn, beans, and squash. So that is where this portion came from. And so this is my little key. I smudged the ink. You can't even tell that it's like a glitter pen. But anyways, so I'm going to have greens in these. I think that's a 10-gallon grow bag. 5 gallons for tomatoes, for purple whole peas, and black-eyed peas, and then potatoes, and my sweet peppers. And then I have other stuff, as you'll see in a minute, but right now that's where we're at with my schematic, and I'll add as this grows. So There's the water that I was telling you about. I didn't put the doors on this one. This has been drawn and drawn again. And the gate. And so let me show you the seeds I got. So my seeds are, this is my corn. It's a sweet, super sweet corn. And then I have some cayenne peppers, which I didn't order these. They were an extra, a bonus. And then chocolate bell peppers. I'm not going to show you. I'm going to go through this kind of fast, actually. So. Hey y'all, so this is my final check-in to talk about the last chapter in Dead Until Dark. So it's the next morning. We had our discussion last night and I've had time to sleep on it and everything that was said. And I kind of debated whether or not to check in on this vlog before the discussion or after, and ultimately decided to check in with the last chapter and my last thoughts after the discussion. The last thing that happens, the main events of the very last chapter, aside from the ending. Let me get to the first page and just make sure. I'm sorry for the sniffles. I'm just, like I said, it's morning. It's afternoon, but I'm just getting up not too long ago. So at this point, Jason still hasn't woken up, but they're gonna arrest him as soon as he does. And Sookie is learning what all went on and what happened with Amy, the last murder victim. And she is trying to get in touch with Bill, who is out of town at this point. Has been out of town for, I think, like a day or so, or maybe just a night. Anyway, so she's trying to leave a message at the hotel for Bill to get in contact with her, because the killer's still loose. Her brother's finna be arrested. Another person I think somebody was dead before he left. So at this point, and then Sookie talks to Jason's attorney, trying to like strategize on how to get, because obviously Sookie knows that Jason is not the murderer. We don't know if the lawyer believes Jason is innocent or not, but that doesn't really matter. He is a lawyer, so they're trying to strategize on how to get Jason off and out of jail. So they come up with the plan, basically to figure out who the real killer is. It's the only way. And Sookie goes and like talks to Bubba for half a second, and that's really it. And so like when we were talking about it in the discussion last night, this was a good, you see the formatting? This would have been a good place to make another chapter instead of just continuing the next chapter. Digression, minor digression. Jason makes bail. Then Sookie goes home after that. And this is when she encounters the last try for this murderer for them to try to kill Sookie. And they tussle. Bubba gets knocked out. The cat's already dead. The dog, aka Sam, is not there. So it's just Sookie and this murderer. They tussle. Sookie stabs somebody. Oh, the way that they interact. So Sookie runs off. She gets a head start, and she realizes that she has been hurt, and she's not going to be able to get away from the killer. And at some point she's in the house and she runs out trying to make it to the car, and they tussle, but she hits him, or hits the person, gets away, starts running towards Bill's house. And at some point while she's running towards Bill's house and had a head start, she realizes that she's not going to be able to outrun this person because she's hurt. And so she uses the skills that she has, which is her telepathic powers, to figure out where he is, to try to avoid him, I think. And by the time that Sookie does that, she realizes who this person is that's after her, and she's like kind of stunned to find out it's Renee. Renee is really after Sookie. So they tussle, he catches up with her. She starts asking him questions, I think, after she steals all of that out of his brain and figures out who he is. He breaks her collarbone. They tussle. Sookie grabs his knife that he didn't take off his bootstrap, I think, before coming to Sookie's house to try to kill her, and Sookie is like Sookie is reading that out of his mind as she stabs him. And then she stabs him, not sure if she kills him. She's able to get away, and she runs towards the street, or runs towards Bill's house, gets to Bill's house, is able to stay conscious long enough to dial 911, and she passes out. And so another chance to have a chapter break. Sookie comes to in the hospital. Everybody and their mama visits her. Kevin, Kenya, Andy, Jason, who else? JD, Arlene. Arlene's upset because she didn't want to believe it. She was more mad at Sookie than she was about mad at Renee being a murderer. And then she thought about it. And anyways, they have a moment, and then Bill shows up on like the last 2 pages of the whole book. Bill shows up from out of town. They have a moment. Sookie's like, why didn't you call me back? And Bill's like, because I wanted to tell you in person. It's like, bro, what the fuck? Like, whatever. They have a moment. They talk about what happened. Bill wants to kill Renee because he sees all the bruises and how bad he's hurt Sookie. But Sookie makes Bill sort of promise not to kill Renee. And Bill is like, I'm not, it's fine, we're gonna be fine, everything is gonna be much better from here on out. And it sort of fades to Sookie looking out the window, and she sees Eric. And that's the ending. That's the ending of the first book of 13 in the Sookie Stackhouse series. I mean, so after the breakdown of the events in the last chapter, here are my final thoughts on the whole book, the whole first book. The pacing. I thought the pacing was fine. The chapters needed to have been cut up into each scene, like how she had the formatting of a print book, like when there was spacing, to know that there was time to pass and the next subject was up. That's when we should have had the chapter breaks. But other than that, I thought the story moved along well. I enjoyed the pacing. I never was bored. There's that. Then for the story itself, the mystery, I guess, is what we could talk about. Like, on reread, I can't, it's hard for me to take away the fact that with a mystery, I think any mystery, when you reread it, it's hard to unknow unless you genuinely forget who the killer is. It's hard to not see those things when you reread it. So there's my bias. But like, did I find it unique on reread? No. Is it interesting? The idea that somebody is upset with people who choose to have sex with vampires exist, it's sort of interesting, for better or worse. It's like a different take on discrimination. It's a discrimination of a different color, but like, sort of. Was it clear? Yeah, it was pretty clear why the killer was doing what he was doing. Are there twists? I don't know that there are really twists per se, except for the reveal of who the killer was. let me know if you thought there were twists outside of that in the comments. Then the next thing that I'm judging on is the writing or the prose. Like, did I jive with it? Yes, it was fine. Like, I understood it. It was easy for me to read. I found it compelling to read. Like, I wanted to pick it up and see what else was gonna happen. So yeah, I did jive with it. Did I find it unique or distinct? No, I don't think I found her writing style particularly unique on reread this time around. I can't say that I did, but I still like it. So characters, any new favorites or standouts? No, there are absolutely no new favorites or standouts. In fact, I think that's the next question. Did you dislike more than half the cast? And the answer to that is yes. So I didn't like the main character. The villain, fine. The side characters, Arlene, the murder victims, the extra vampires, like Eric, Pam, I like those two. Jason needs to be exiled. Sam, I don't really like his vibe. He's just a little too predatory, territorial. I don't know. I didn't like him on reread nearly as much as I liked him on the first time around or in the show. So there's that. So yeah, I didn't like 75% of the characters, 80% of the characters. I didn't like them. Did the side characters give what they needed to give? For the most part, not many of them were fully fleshed out, but they served their purpose, I think. I have to think about that one a little bit more. Maybe the way I framed that question. Yeah, the side characters were fine for what they were. And then the ending. What did I think of the ending? On reread, knowing that there's 13 books, I thought the ending was fine. I liked the ending okay. I forgot about Bill running for political office. Even though that's part of vampires being out in public and the public knowing about them, is that they are able to have rights in like voting and being able to run for office. So I did talk about that, I thought, but I don't remember Bill specifically running for office in book 1. So that was fine. I thought it was fitting. Did I enjoy it? I enjoyed it enough. I didn't enjoy the reveal. I enjoyed the reveal less after discussion last night. So like, I don't really know how to discuss this. I think I maybe need to talk about, I need to reflect a little bit more on how I frame the questions around how I make my ratings for the ending as well as for the writing style prompts. So out of 5 stars. So yeah, I'm giving this 3 stars. When I calculate it up, I give it a full star for pacing. I give it a full star for writing, and it gets a full star for the ending. And that is Dead Until Dark, book 1. We are going to be starting Living Dead in Dallas in February. Our only set of sprints is at the end of February, the last Tuesday. February is a hard word for me to say. So stay tuned for that, and let me know if you plan on participating in reading book 2 or just coming to the discussion in the comments. I've asked y'all to say a lot of stuff in the comments, but I hope you enjoyed my first vlog, and thank you for watching, y'all. Take care of your skin. Bye.